I'm Michelle, and we're going to talk about how I and you can use mindfulness, compassion, and connection to find your inner calm and a little more sanity in your parenting. When parenting a high need child feels like too much. Hi, I'm Michelle, and I help parents who want to parent peacefully to foster strong relationships with their children and at times find it very, very hard. When my kids were small, I found myself so overwhelmed and burnt out. Not only did I struggle with responding peacefully or playfully, I got caught in an awful yelling pattern, which of course was followed by terrible shame because yelling was the last thing that I wanted to do. So now let's talk about how I and you can use the science of mindfulness and self-compassion to find your inner calm and a little more sanity in your parenting. When parenting a high need kiddo feels like too much, have you ever thought to yourself, I love my kiddo, but their needs drain me, and then felt really ashamed? Or my kid needs more than I have to give? Or I'm maxed out and my kiddo still needs more. How much more can they need? Or my high need kiddo overwhelms me. I'm trying to stay connected, but my child needs more than I have to give. All of these are really understandable feelings when you have a high need kiddo. And the thing is, not all kids are the same. Kids have different levels of needs. And I had a kiddo when they were little, they needed constant, felt like nearly constant attention, constant affection, constant interaction. And because for a lot of reasons, largely because there were two other kiddos that were the same age almost and also had really high needs, I felt totally overwhelmed by it. And I want to give you a few tips and strategies that will help you be able to respond to your kiddos' needs more on your terms so that you can respond to them and they can feel, connected and close, and you don't feel as drained and overwhelmed by it. So, yeah, my daughter was needed lots of snuggles and connection and closeness. And I remember this one memory when I came home from work and she just wanted to snuggle up on the couch with me, which is the most, adorable, loving, normal, natural thing that a kiddo could want to do. And I remember just pulling away. And I remember feeling worried and concerned, like, what's wrong with me that I'm pulling away from my child? And how is this going to impact her? And all of these worried thoughts. The good thing was that that same high need kiddo was the reason that I found hand in hand parenting because it was like she was a canary in the coal mine. Like she was the alarm bell that something was wrong and I needed more support in my parenting. So I am really grateful for that difficult experience and for her being high needs because I'm not so sure that if she hadn't had those high needs that I would have found hand in hand parenting when I did. So of getting that support, which we all as parents need support, it can come in lots of different packages, but we are created for connection and we need support in our lives. And we are not meant to do this parenting thing alone. So, the hand in hand parenting coach was a game changer for me. And the thing is, I was trying to give from an empty cup, but I didn't know that my cup was empty. And I blamed myself for feeling overwhelmed. I blamed myself with any acknowledgement that I did have about being my cup was empty. It was my fault. I blamed myself if I couldn't meet my daughter's needs. All of that self blame and criticism did not help the situation. So it just kept me in a spiral where I felt worse and I felt more overwhelmed by the situation. And my kiddo needed more from me because the more overwhelmed I felt, the less that she was getting. So it was a vicious spiral. And my coach helped me find ways to connect with my daughter that were less overwhelming. And what I learned just in general is that you can give love and attention and connection on your own terms in ways that feel sustainable and manageable to you. And it's really difficult to give sustainably what we don't have. And it's normal to that overwhelm reduces our capacity. It doesn't reduce our love. We don't love our children any less, but it can reduce our capacity. And when we feel and get supported, we have more capacity. And there are other things that we can do that help us make that whole dynamic feel much more manageable. So, what you can do is give love and affection and connection on your terms. So, let's look at so if we can be proactive and give our high kiddo what they need, then they won't be coming to us needy, 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 constantly trying to get our attention. So, let's just look at the negative cycle and how it goes when things are not going well, right? Our high kiddo needs has they have their high needs and they're constantly looking for and seeking attention. They might interrupt us, they might whine, they might get in trouble to try to get our attention. They are just constantly looking and seeking and coming towards us, often in ways that feel annoying, frustrating, and then we feel, I mean, we're oftentimes interrupted in whatever we're trying to do. So we can feel bothered, annoyed, and frustrated. And then when our kiddo is coming to us and we respond to them that way, they don't feel, of course, closer and reassured and more connected. It sort of sends them that uh-oh signal of, uh-oh, mommy's not happy with me, or something's off, or I'm not getting that connection that I need. So they feel more uneasy and they need more reassurance, and they're more likely to keep coming at us and being underfoot and interrupting us and, like bothering us while we're on the phone and just all coming, right? And then we pull away slightly, or maybe sometimes much more than slightly. We pull away because we feel overwhelmed by it. We feel frustrated by it. We feel sometimes those feelings that we are, feeling bad about ourselves, like we feel ashamed, we feel guilty. They also kind of all cause us to pull away because we're feeling worse. So we don't want to move towards our kiddo. We want to move away because we're feeling bad about the situation and about ourselves. And of course, the more we pull away or respond with frustration, the more our kiddo feels uneasy and unsettled, and the more they're needy, and coming towards us. Ugh. Okay, so that's the negative cycle and how awful it feels. And you can see how it's a spiral and one that we would just love to break, right? So let's talk about some alternative options. Let's talk about some ways to step out of that negative cycle. And the biggest way outside of getting support for yourself is to come to your kiddo and give her or him or them affection and love and attention on your terms. What I noticed was when I went to my kiddo and I felt like I had something to give and I wasn't being interrupted, it was much easier. So I started to be really intentional about going towards my kiddo and giving her great big bear hugs, that really like not just like I love you, but like a great big hug and like a really deep hug that where she felt really safe and connected and loved. And because I really wanted to be there and wanted to be doing that, she was feeling that too. So that was filling her cup. That was giving her the feeling of feeling connected and loved and safe. So then she needs a little bit less, right? So this is how we can be proactive. So thinking about ways that you can move towards your kiddo, you can every time you go by them, you can give them not even just the big hug, but big hugs, and you can give them like a little pat on the shoulder or play with their hair, assuming that your kiddo likes this. Oftentimes, high need kiddos do, but every kiddo's different. So you know your kiddo. It might be that you squeeze their arm, or so just little sprinkles of the physical affection and also sprinkles of verbal affection, like, oh, I love you so much. You're such a great kiddo. You do such a great job at school. You're doing so great over here. And genuine, like things that you really mean. You don't want it to be lip service, right? You want it to be and come from a genuine place because otherwise your kiddo will feel that and then it won't be meeting their need. So make sure that it's genuine, you're saying, and specific. And then also, so little silly moments where maybe you put your hair in a crazy way and you're like, what do you think? Do you like my hair today? And it's a little silly connection. Maybe it's that you come out with your underwear on your head and you're like, okay, I'm ready to go to work. Let's go. Everybody get in the car. And not only does your maybe high need kiddo laugh, but everybody's laughing because it's silly. So there's silly ways that you can sprinkle in that connection. You can also come to them while they're playing, especially if you have little kids. You can come sit on the floor with them. And it sounds really easy to do that, right? Like just go sit on the floor and play with your kiddo. But the reality is, as a parent, especially when we are often overwhelmed, that does not sound easy, fun, inviting. It sounds like, ugh, like, ugh. And I totally understand that. If that's easy for you, awesome. Celebrate that win. If it's difficult for you, if the thought of sitting on the floor and playing with your kiddo sounds not pleasant, I understand, and you're not alone. You're totally normal. And the reality, I think the thing that helps the most with that is keep it short. Like, okay, I'm just gonna sit down. I'm just gonna, you can even put a timer on your phone, like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever feels manageable to you. That little connection for them is gonna help fill their cup, but it has to feel manageable to you or you won't do it, right? So 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever feels manageable, sit down with them, whatever they're doing. Maybe you just sit there and watch and delight in it. Maybe if they're playing something, you play with them. And yes, it is possible that when you start to get up, that they might get upset. And that's another reason that we as parents are like, I don't want to sit down because it's going to be this whole thing. And I've been with them all day and they're finally doing something by themselves and I'm going to go over. There's lots of reasons that it's difficult. And if you remember that negative cycle that I painted for you, it is a way to stay out of that negative cycle. Like, and you just move away with lots of confidence and love and connection. Like, I know I wish I could sit and play with you on the floor all day. That's what I'd prefer to do, but I have to go do the dishes or I have to go do XYZ. I'm sorry, but thank you for letting me play with you for a little bit. And if you, that helps kind of let them know that you do love them, of course, and you do like playing with them. And so it makes it a little easier when you have to move away because it's not unreasonable for us to be like, I have to go. I have to go do the dishes, right? If we move away like that, that's going to be a lot harder for our kiddo when we move away with frustration and annoyance. So, to the best of your ability, when you move away and you have to end the playtime, let them know that you don't want to have to end it and that you love that they want to play with you and it fills your heart. And that makes it a little easier for them to let you go on to whatever you need to do next. And of course, sprinkling in the hugs and affection and the physical and verbal affection throughout the day. All of these things just help fill that high needs kiddo up. And it helps make it a little, it's going to dial down them coming to you. And oftentimes, like you're always going to be doing something, like you're never just sitting and staring at a wall, right? So if they're coming to you, they're going to be interrupting you. And if you're a person that struggles with being interrupted, that's going to be really difficult. So when you come to them on your terms, it's going to make it much easier. And then you can decide when you need to move away. If you give them a big giant hug, and then it's like, okay, and now I'm going to go on to my other thing. When they're getting that regular kind of affection and getting those needs met, they're going to be hopefully less and less coming to you, interrupting, and you're going to be able to stay out of that negative cycle. And before we go, I just want you to really take it that getting support for yourself seriously. It's easy to dismiss that and say, like, I don't have time. I don't know. I don't need that. And I totally understand. And it really is a game changer. It might be having coffee with a friend. It might be setting up on hand in hand creates a community where they have listening partners and you're talking to someone who is trying to parent in a similar way. It could be a parenting coach. It could be a therapist. It could be, like a church group. There's a lot of different kinds of ways that we can get support, and different people have different needs. Like some people prefer one-on-one, some people prefer a group, some people prefer a little bit less, some people prefer a lot more. I personally am like a high need person for that connection and support. So, but we all need it to some degree. And it's easy to be isolated in our parenting because our culture is individualistic and it's easy, it's so easy to become isolated. So, again, as humans, we're wired for connection. We're not meant to do this alone. And getting support is wise and proactive. It's something that you can feel really good about rather than feeling like, what's wrong with me? You can feel good about, like, of course I need support. Of course I'm struggling if I don't have support. What are some ways that I can give myself that support? And if you're already doing it, then give yourself a pat on the back because we, I'm sure, don't often give ourselves as much a pat on the back as we deserve. And it makes all of the above much more doable. That's the whole reason I created the Yelling to Connecting course as a group, because I want parents to be able to walk through learning and growing together in the support of a group and in the support of other parents who are also doing the same thing. So, thank you so much for listening. I wish you well in your efforts to connect with your high need kiddo, and the light in me sees the light in you. A reminder, this content is intended for educational purposes only and should not be used as a replacement for private psychotherapy services. Compassionate Heart Mindful Life does not provide psychotherapy services in any capacity. I am a therapist, but I'm not your therapist, and this is not therapy and should not be a substitute for mental health treatment. If you need mental health treatment, please find a qualified professional in your area. Thanks again for listening.